My dear master's students, in my last lecture I discussed with you from up to chapter 10. Today I will discuss chapter 11 to 14 with analysis. Like the previous lecture, today's analysis will be found chapter with chapter simultaneously, not separately. In chapter 11, Ekoefi tells Ejinma a story about a greedy and cunning tortoise. All the birds were invited to the feast in the sky, and the tortoise persuaded the birds to lend him feathers to make wings. However, tortoise took new name all of you in the feast. Tortoise ate and drank the best parts of the food and wine. All were angry, and the shell of the tortoise broke when he jumped. With medicine, it got together again, and for this tortoise's shell is not smooth. Just then, Chilo, the priestess of Agbala, comes to Okonko and tells him that Agbala needs to see his daughter, Ejinma. He begs her to let the child sleep and return in the morning. But Chilo does not listen this, and she is forced to go with Chilo in the sacred cave of Agbala's house. Following Chilo's chanting voice, Ekoefi runs through the forest in the dark. Finally, Ekoefi is kept out of sight. Oknoko also came to know about his daughter. Here we see that the story of tortoise means for teaching history and custom. The story tells why shell is not smooth, and it also reveals the proverb, a man who makes trouble for others is also making it for himself. Here is another indication for Okonko is bringing misfortune upon himself. In this chapter, Achibi presents a situation that Okonko and his wife Ekoefi considered their family more important than the customs of Igbo. In chapter 12, at dawn, Chilo exits the shrine with Ejinma on her back. Without saying a word, she takes the girl to Ekoefi's hut and puts her to bed. Okonko's family joined the marriage ceremony of Obiorika's daughter. The villagers contribute food to the festivities, and Obiorika buys some goats to present to his future in-laws. The women greet the visitors, and the men exchange ceremonial greetings. The feast is a success. This chapter further shows several tribal customs and belief. In chapter 13, at dead of night, the sound of a drum and a cannon announced the death of Ijiudu, an important man in the village. Everyone in the village gathers in the funeral ceremony of a warrior who had achieved 3 titles in his lifetime, a rare accomplishment. Suddenly, an agonized cry and shouts of horror are followed by silence. Ijidu's 16 years old son is found dead in a pool of blood in the midst of the crowd. When Okonko fired his gun, it pierced the boy's heart. In the history of Yomofia, such an accident has never occurred. Okonko's accidental killing is a crime against the earth of goddess. He knows that he and his family must leave Yomofia for 7 years. With valuable belongings, they fled to Mbonata, the village of his mother, before morning. Okonko's friend mourns for his departure and wonders why for an accident his friend should be punished. Then Obiorika remembered that his twin children were abandoned in the forest because of tribal tradition. In this chapter, we see the accidental killing makes Okonko a tragic hero. HEB foreshadows the event with Okonko's memory of Ijidu's warning about killing of Ikemefuna. Now, chapter 14. In this chapter, the hero arrives in Mbonata to begin his 7-year exile. His maternal uncle, Ukendo, now a village elder, heard all incidents and gave Okonoko a land to cultivate yams. He and his family worked hard but had no pleasure. He grieves over his interrupted plan to become one of the lands of his clan of Yomofia and blames his chi for his failure. After marriage ceremony of Ukendo's youngest son, Ukendo speaks to the hero about his misfortune. Okonko's maternal uncle helps all children to understand why a man should return to his motherland. He advises the hero and his children to take advice. His maternal uncle advises Okonko to prepare his family to return Yomofia. He points out that many people suffer more serious setbacks than a 7-year exile. Here, we see HEB presents a paradox about manly and womanly aspects of Okonko's circumstances. These chapters shows Igbo's cultures, traditions, and the hero's wrong decision. No more today. Best of luck.